Today marks 477 days sharing lessons I learned and continue to learn with you. While I hope these insights will inspire you, support your dreams, help achieve your goals, and really empower you to become the person that you want to become. Today I'll share about self-analysis. Seven small tips that we're able to do to really to improve our self-analysis. I think it's such an important topic, and we need to repeat ourselves that self-analysis, self-reflection, self-awareness is the key, is the foundation of building something on top. But there's the way how we able to do it in a more efficient way. So number one is brutally honest. And that's how sometimes we can call it even that ego death training. Ego is important. Ego is to protect us, but if you build that ego, if that ego is unhealthy, we need to train it to really build in a healthy way. And that is a brutal, honest understanding where we are, what kind of story we tell ourselves. And when we are brutally honest, we stop blaming others, stop blaming ourselves. We understand what exactly happened, what exactly I'm looking to achieve. Sometimes, even when we say that I want to really achieve some success, or I want to really stop doing something that is hurting me. A lot of times, people say, "Why I do those things that is hurting me?" And they think, "Okay, this does bad things for me." But when we ask, okay, what this bad thing is doing good for me? Because at some point we started for some reason doing it. And I think that brutally honesty allows us to really understand true core issues in our lives. And if we're allowing it to brutal honesty in our lives, I think that is always key to success. Number two is track behavior. And that's data over drama. And one thing is like about behavior is that a lot of times we have good intentions to do things. But again, we need to check our not intentions, what kind of intentions do we make, but what kind of behaviors do I have? Now, intentions are great. Intentions is great. And one of the best books I have read was Intentional Life by John C. Maxwell, and we need to have that intention. But one thing that we really need to track is what kind of behavior do we do we do with that intention? Because if you have 10 intentions, but behavior doesn't align with any of those intentions, maybe something needs to be changed. And at the same time, we're able to look into every single day. Like rather than complaining about things that is not working out, we're able to say, like, what is my behavior saying about this my goal? Because behaviors lead to goals, lead to achievements, lead to results, nothing else. Number three is responsibility. That is a lot of times a guilt detox, because I think that it's very very easy to really blame others, but at the same time blame ourselves. And I think that what's most important is rather than saying that I'm bad, I'm unworthy, being able to really take responsibility and say this was me and I can change it. So rather than saying that I'm bad and that's why I did this mistake, I'll say this was me. I did it. I made this mistake. But I can change it because I'm aware of it. I know exactly what I did wrong and I'm able to get better. And that's the beautiful thing because every single time when you say I'm bad, you put that on identity. Rather than putting that on behavior, again, you're putting on that guilt on identity. You put on, on your behavior. And your behavior is always changes. It's very, very flexible. Identities are harder to change. And that's why we always need to really change the vocabulary that we use with ourselves. Number four is emotional patterns. Sometimes even people call it shadow work. Being able to really to integrate all parts of you. I really love this saying that you nurture something that you love. And you do not nurture something that you hate. So if you hate some parts of you, it's almost impossible to nurture it. That means they will be neglected. And years go by, you develop the part that you like, and you forget about the parts that you don't like, you hate, and those even gets worse, and it gets even bigger polarity between the parts that you like and the parts that you don't like. And when I think that even about emotions, we need to understand that all emotions could be changed. Look, most important part is not suppressed and put other on top of it, but really changed. So being allowing ourselves to really have a variety of emotions, I think that's like the key aspect. But now, if we want to have a variety of emotions, we need to understand what kind of patterns do I have right now? What triggers, what kind of emotions, where those emotions are coming from? What is my emotional home? What I mean by emotional home, at Adam Milet, first time I heard from him saying that, and it's a very great idea, is that what's my default emotion? So when I have during my day, when I go by and there's nothing going on, what is my familiar, comfortable emotion? Because we have tendency to gravitate back to that emotional home. Even sometimes those emotional home could be house, could be blame, shame, guilt, like all those negative emotions could be emotional home because we have tendency or we lived in a house for so long that we became comfortable with negative emotions. So we need to familiarize with new patterns, even visualize feeling differently, that we can feel comfortable having positive emotions. Number five is question narratives. And this is partly of reprogramming your identity. And question narrative is all about stories. All about stories. We have the mind who is very creative. We tell our stories all the time. Sometimes even when I have a communication with a person and they say a couple words, and we start telling ourselves stories, what they mean by their couple words, even though that might be that they never mean anything. But we are already creating stories in our mind, what they potentially could mean. And I think that we need to learn to really sometimes rewrite the narratives and stories that we already written in the past and review them and say like, why I created this narrative? How I validated this narrative? How factually correct this narrative? And I think that a lot of times we have created narratives in our lives, stories in our lives that was never validated, but we start to believe them. And I think that when we question those narratives, we need to rewrite those stories. And of course, because we write the starting point of the story, sometimes the end will be so much different as well. Number six is environment audit. And it probably is of systemic awareness. So that means when you look into our environment, so okay, what is your workplace looks like, how your relationships looks like, how your internal environment looks like, how every environment you go to looks like. Because it's much more easy and simple to be productive and focused in an environment that is nourishing. It's very hard to achieve success in life when your environment says is house. It's draining. So it's extremely important to look into your environment and say, like, what do I like about an environment? What do I do not like an environment? What kind of energy my environment is creating to me right now? What kind of environment would I like to have? What would I need to do if I would love to have this kind of environment? What kind of resourcefulness do I need to have to be able to really pull that off? I think this is great when you start questioning because that's again self-analysis. Self-analysis is all about asking questions and being able to really understand exactly where you are with your environment. And then say, now this is where I am, and this is what kind of environment I would love to have to be able to achieve my vision. The last one is that action. Action. And this is a identity reinforcement. I think it's a beautiful thing when you don't think your way into new self. You behave your way there. And it's beautiful thing that I think that's so many things that when every self-analysis thing that we want to really to improve and get awareness on, action is one of the things that really elevates and is probably one of the shortcuts to really awareness. So say like, okay, how much courage do you have? Okay, let's take an action. Let's look into how much courage I have. Okay, you try one thing. Okay, I'm still a little bit scared of this. So it might be that I need to improve a little bit more courage. This is where my courage is right now, because without checking, without action, it's very hard to really check where courage is. Like you say, oh, I think that I'm comfortable with that, but I will not know for sure until I test it. I will take action, and I think it's a beautiful thing when every aspect of your life you're able to test it. For example, you go to gym and say, how much I'm able to press? Maybe 200, maybe 100. I don't know until I test it. I will go and press it, and then I know my maximum. That's where I start, and will be able to develop and improve from there into something better. So I always say that action is something. Again, what kind of actions do I take right now to test myself, to improve myself, to get more awareness about myself? Because I think that it's very important every single month to take action, to test yourself, to measure yourself. And when you're able to do that, I think this is a beautiful thing, because you know that you are that kind of person who's always looking to get better. It doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is that you're getting better. It doesn't matter how slow you move. The most important part that you're moving. So action is that one thing that, again, we need to have that seeing ourselves clearly enough to really make it better. Stop living unconscious life, because again, moving to conscious and being start living life by design. That's the not by default. That's where true success lies. So hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.